kind of a lazy Saturday night. It's raining out and I'm doing laundry and I got a cup of tea and it just felt like the right moment for a tag video. So I thought I would do the book buying tag. There are 13 questions or prompts for this one. Questions about where you buy your books, more or less. I saw Curtis Books and Films do this tag about a week ago, and I believe Conrad has done this one as well. So a little bit of fun here. The first question is, where do you buy your books from? I buy my books anywhere and everywhere. Sometimes I do Amazon, sometimes I head down to my favorite bookstore here in Ottawa, Black Squirrel Books. Sometimes I'll go to the Salvation Army, sometimes I'll go to Chapters. Just wherever. If they sell books, I'm probably there buying some. Question 2. Do you ever pre-order books, and if so, do you do this in store or online? When I pre-order, I'm doing it online. It's typically an Amazon thing. I'm actually really frustrated because I'm waiting on a collection of speeches by Joe Clark that were supposed to be published in a collection in, I think, April originally, and the date got pushed back to May, and then June, and then to August. And the last I heard, Amazon sent me an email telling me they couldn't acquire the book for me. So I'm quite frustrated, and I hope I can find it elsewhere if it's still being published. Number 3. On average, how many books do you buy a month? It depends. The last couple of months, since I've been working more steadily again, I've been buying a lot of books. I'm going to say that July was probably around 30 books, maybe a few more than that. But most of them were thrift store finds, Salvation Army, Vincent de Paul, that sort of thing, that I was paying $1 or less for. But if we go back to like January, February, maybe 1 or 2 a month. I think there was 1 month where I didn't buy any books at all because finances and whatnot. Number 4, do you use your local library? Not my local library per se, but I do use my university library. I have access to really a fantastic library through my university, and so there isn't really a need for me to go and use the public library. The university library is more convenient. I'm on campus anyway. I actually haven't gotten a card for the public library here in Ottawa yet because all the branches are so far from my house. It would take a little bit of busing to get there. And I'm not sure that I'll be all that impressed with the selection anyway. On to number 5. If so, how many books can you / do you borrow at a time? So because I'm a grad student, I think I'm able to take out like over 100 books at a time. And my loan period is 4 months. And if I renew those, that means I can have books out for like 6 or 8 months. And there were a couple books I took out in the fall that I had out until February. So that gives you some perspective there. At the moment, I think I have maybe 25 books out, checked out from my university library at the moment. They're stacked around me on the floor here. No shelf space. What is your opinion on library books? This is kind of an odd question. Well, what does it mean? What is your opinion? I mean, I like library books. I don't have to pay for them. I mean, besides my tuition fees and stuff, but I don't have to pay to borrow them. I can find interesting things. One of my favorite things to do is just to wander around and browse and select a random book. I'll often share whatever I grab on my Instagram or on Twitter. that's how I find new authors. That's how I found Lord of Moravia. That's how I found a lot of the translated literature that I've read. It's kind of challenging because I'll go into the library and I'll be looking for Simone de Beauvoir, for instance, or perhaps Sartre. And I'll find the section, and then I have to pick through, because about 3/4 of the books will be in the original French, and 1/4 of them will be in English, and it's a challenge to find the English ones. Same thing with the Italian authors. I'll dig through the Italian, the Spanish, and the French books, looking for the odd work in translation into English by those authors, so that I can get to know those authors. Just the other day I was thinking, oh my, that's a bit of thunder. Just the other day I was thinking how fantastic it would be to be able to read a lot of these works in the original French. To be able to read French at all, because it would open up kind of a whole new world in reading for me. How do you feel about charity shops and secondhand books? I grew up buying secondhand books. It was a rare occasion when I would get a brand new book, but growing up, my family was at the thrift stores every couple of weeks. I would take my allowance and I would buy books. As a teenager, I actually volunteered at a thrift store. And the books that they didn't feel they could sell, or that they didn't sell, they would put into a big paper recycling dumpster. And I had special permission to dig through and take whatever I wanted. So there was a time when I had 100 battered paperbacks under my bed. This is how I found a lot of Can Lit, how I read some bits of philosophy that were way beyond my understanding at the time. I remember trying to get through a book on dialectical materialism when I was 16, and I didn't even know what dialectical materialism was, and there was no one to explain it to me. I just know that I thought the book looked pretty and interesting, and so I tried and tried and tried and eventually gave up. And now all these years later, I wish I still had that book, because I bet it was very, very interesting, because it was from the 60s. But yeah, I have a very good opinion of used books. And question number 8. Do you keep your read and TBR pile together on the same bookshelf or not? I do. I have minimal space here, so wherever things fit. The newest books tend to be stacked in a basket to my right, in a pile to my left, or in the cardboard box full of books and notebooks that I've never unpacked, even though I've been here in Ottawa a year. I have a few just shoved on the front of the shelves. I am now stacking books 2 layers thick. But yeah, it's not a big deal to me whether they're separate or together. Intuitively, I seem to know where everything is. I never find myself in the situation where I lost a book or don't remember where a book is. If it's here, I'll know where to find it. I'm getting sunlight in the eyes, but that's kind of nice. I was inside all day. Number 9. Do you plan to read all the books that you own? No shit, what kind of question is that? Of course I'm going to read them all. Why else would I have them? Question 11. Have you ever donated books? All the time. I frequently take books that I'm done with to the thrift stores. Quite often I'll, if the books are good, take them to a used bookstore and trade them in for store credit, which is always nice. I used to do that more back when I lived in Kitchener-Waterloo. The KW used bookstore was really good with giving me store credit. 12. Have you ever been on a book buying ban? Yes, for financial reasons, and even then I wasn't very successful because I have no self-control. And number 13, as I'm still blinded by the sun here, I'll get this over with. Number 13. Do you feel that you buy too many books? In terms of my pocketbook, yes. In terms of space, yes. In terms of my desire to read and collect, no. I didn't anticipate the sunlight when I sat down to film.